which brings us to this year and our new release, iPadOS 14.
What is going on, guys? NanoBits93 here with another video, and today we got to talk about the disappointment that was iPadOS 14 during WWDC. So let's talk about it, guys. Alright guys, so first let's talk about the elephant in the room. If you guys watched the WWDC announcement of iPadOS 14.0, you know that we're not getting native secondary display support for the iPad Pro, which, the last month or so, I was noticing that wasn't going to happen. Everybody was talking about this was going to be an S update, and that is what this was. Also, shout out to my cat if you guys can see him. But just to kind of go over everything that was talked about within WWDC so you guys are up to date, if you guys saw the iOS 14 announcement, all that's going to trickle down into iPadOS 14. So, the widgets, minimalistic Siri, dictation, all those things are being trickled down into iPadOS 14. But I'm just going to talk about the iPad specific features that iPad 14 or iPadOS 14 is going to bring. What I did like that they did within, the native software at least, was that they created a new navigation avenue, right? So everything is going to be on the left-hand side, just like it is on a normal traditional computer, especially if you're on the file management side. But the first thing that they updated was photos. So photos within iPadOS has been pretty normal, pretty, I guess, easy to get what you need to get to, but not really. Everything's kind of cluttered if you want it to be. So now within photos, you get the new design language, a new function language, right? So being able to kind of navigate through your Photos app on the left-hand side of the screen, and also being able to move, different photo files around a lot more intuitively and familiarly, if that's even a word. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, but within the Files app, if you try to move a file, and you're so used to, especially if you're on a Mac OS or Windows computer, if you grab a file on one of those traditional operating systems, and you hover it over a folder, that folder opens up. And if there's a folder within that, you keep hovering and hovering until you get down to the folder that you want to put that file into. With iPadOS file management, you can't do that with iPadOS 13. So that's what they're bringing to iPadOS 14, and that's going to be within the Photos app. So whenever you need to move something around from one photo, folder to another, you can do it that way, right? So grab the photo, hover over the folder that you want to put it into, and then eventually drop that photo into the folder that you want it to be in, and not just the big umbrella folder, right? So that's a really nice touch that they added. But again, these are minimal what I'm going to keep calling S updates, which is half-baked updates that, sure, they're nice to have, but they're not going to be game-changing. So they brought the same language to the Music app. I'm a Spotify user, so this doesn't really apply to me, but if you're an Apple Music user, you can now navigate using that sidebar on the left. And then also they added improved lyric synchronization, so being able to have almost like a karaoke style view of the lyrics of a song that you're listening to. Another thing that they updated, which is really nice, I don't know if you guys FaceTime a lot or get phone calls a lot, but on the iPhone and on the iPad, especially if you're bringing over calls onto the iPad Pro, whenever you're doing anything, right? If you're taking notes, browsing, watching a video, if somebody calls you or FaceTimes you, it takes up the entirety of the screen and it stops everything that you're doing, right? So for instance, if somebody was calling me right now while I'm recording on this iPhone, it would stop the recording completely. But now they added these miniature toggles that are more like notifications, right? Like you're getting a FaceTime and it comes up on the top of the screen, so you can swipe it away, decline from there, or accept it if you're willing to stop what you're doing to pick up that phone call. And same with the iPhone, right? So that's a nice little touch. That's kind of a way to stop abruptly, messing somebody up from doing what they're doing for a phone call that it could be a spam call, and it ruins everything you were doing just because it's taking up the entire screen and stopping all systems, right? So now it just works as a notification, which is nice. You guys are very familiar with Spotlight search, right? Now since I, got rid of every single application on my home screen, kind of cleaned everything up, I've lived in Spotlight search. So now what I do is I swipe down if I need an app that's not on the home dock, search for the app, and then launch it from there, and it works with multitasking as well. But now what they're doing is they're bringing universal search. So universal search is a lot more like it is on Mac OS. So if you go to the top right corner and you hit that magnifying glass and you start typing away, even if the application or the service or whatever you're looking for isn't on the computer, it'll go find it, right? If it's an app that you don't have installed, it'll tell you what app it is. If it's a link that's somewhere deep into the internet, it'll find it. So that's what universal search has turned into on the iPad Pro. It allows you to not only launch apps that you're looking for, but launch web pages, search within applications. It's almost like a Control F or Apple F feature, both within applications and in the native OS of the system. So that's also a nice thing to have, universal search. Again, updates that are making your life maybe a little bit easier, a little bit more intuitive, but whereas I'm still waiting for that giant leap for the iPad to make from a software standpoint, because hardware-wise, we're there. I don't think this iPad can get any better, in my opinion. But software standpoint, we got to get to a better spot. And then the last thing that's applicable to the iPad Pro, because it's an Apple Pencil feature, is the fact that you can now annotate and write over text that you've written. So I'm a big Apple Notes user, right? I like Apple Notes because it's on my iPhone, on my iPad, on a laptop, in my iCloud, right? Everything just syncs across, and it syncs pretty quickly since the data files are small. And one thing that's always kind of peeved me is the fact that if I'm typing away with regular text, on the actual keyboard, and then I grab the Apple Pencil to maybe write something additional on that same list, I can't do it. Apple Notes pushes me down, gives me enough space between handwritten section and type section, and then I can handwrite within the handwritten section only. So now Apple has changed that with the new Apple Notes and Apple Pencil support, is that you can now not only annotate within a certain doc. So if you're making a list, you typed out maybe 10 things you need for the grocery store, and then at the last second you remember that you need one more thing, you need some broccoli for dinner tonight. You can now handwrite it within the same checklist, and Apple Notes will recognize that and know that it's part of that same list and not something totally new, which I really, really like. And then the last thing that they did with the Apple Pencil support, which I've been using on Microsoft OneNote for forever, is shapes, right, and lines and things like that. So I'm big into being able to just handwrite and use my own handwriting, which is awesome, but every now and then, obviously I can't draw a straight line, I can't draw a perfect square, so whenever I do like bubbles and try to make diagrams and things like that, it looks messy, right? Yes, it is handwritten, it's expected to be messy, but I don't like it like that. So with OneNote, you could toggle between the two, right? So you're handwriting, but you want to put a box around it, you hand draw that box, but then the software knows that it's going to be a box and it makes it a straight line box, right? That's coming to Apple Notes now, which I'm a huge fan of. Because I used to make diagrams within Apple Notes and it would look messy like I was saying, and now I can make boxes, make circles, make triangles, whatever shapes I want, the lines will come out straight, even though it is still technically handwriting. And then I can handwrite words within those diagrams, right? So that's a nice little feature that they added. That should have been here a while ago, especially if Microsoft has been doing it for probably about a year now, and Apple on its own hardware hasn't been doing it. So I think Notes took a big step forward. The native navigation of all of iPadOS took a big step forward, but we're missing a lot of stuff, guys. And by a lot of stuff, I mean pretty much one thing: external monitor support. Apple Watch support on the iPad would be nice. Like being able to customize having the Watch app on the iPad itself would be really nice. But secondary monitor support was the one thing that I was holding my breath for that we didn't get. So I'm sorry about that, guys. Hopefully next year, right? But for now, we'll just stick to Shift Screen. And by next video is going to be an update for Shift Screen 3.0. Definitely stay tuned for that video, because we're doing an awesome giveaway that Shift Screen developer is sponsoring for us to kind of give back to you guys for everything that you supported me with. But let's get the 10K subs here, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Comment below if you were underwhelmed, happy about the update, what's missing, what's your favorite part. I'm always excited to see what you guys got to say. Follow me on Twitter, because I'll be discussing WWDC for the next week or so on there. And that's going to be it, guys. So don't forget, again, like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, peace.